For more than 50 years, I have lived and worked as a Jesuit priest with the Salish peoples in the Pacific Northwest. I have been invited to witness magnificent spiritual work at funerals and family gatherings. It has been my privilege to witness the strength of the singers and dancers and to hear all the good words brought out on the smokehouse floors.
Syəyaʔyaʔ.
Syəyaʔyaʔ. The Coast Salish
Sacred Lifeways
and the Sacred Life
and
Way
the Sacred
of Jesus.
Life Way of Jesus by Pat Twohy.
Anything that lifted minds to the most holy, anything that cemented human hearts together, anything that fed the people with knowledge that would sustain them, anything sent from their beloved and the Most High to help the world of living ones, anything that was generous and honest. They cherished anything that brightened the eyes of the young or filled homes with laughter, holding as holy anything that generated breath, songs, and good words. They acknowledged all that revealed the sacred road of light meant for all to seek and follow.
Syəyaʔyaʔ.
Syəyaʔyaʔ.
Syəyaʔyaʔ. Friends.
The Coast Salish
Sacred Lifeways
and the Sacred Life
and the
Way
Sacred Life Way of Jesus by Pat Twohy.
Part 1. The Way of Wiz.
Part 1.
Part 1.
The Way of Wisdom.
The Way of Wisdom. The work of witnessing.
The work of witnessing. We need to know who we are to find our way. We need to gather together. We need to have ceremonies and songs
that open our hearts, so that the right words
come out.
The Life Giver has given us a rooted culture. Danita Washington. Celia Lummy.
Our teachings are on the other side with those who've gone ahead of us. All of our lives we seek to learn these teachings, and because we can never learn enough in our lifetimes, some of these teachings wait for us when we cross over to be with our ancestors. Larry Campbell, Wanasiya, Swinomish.
An important part of the protocol for Coast Salish ceremonies is the calling of 4 witnesses. The men and women chosen for this work may be from geological areas to the north, south, east, and west of the gathering taking place. These witnesses are called on to remember all of the spiritual work undertaken during the ceremony. At the end of a long day or night, the family's main speaker calls on these witnesses to bring forth words of praise, comfort, and encouragement to the host family, acknowledging the sacred manner in which the ceremony was accomplished.
What I am now seeing is what I was seeing from the first time I began to walk with Salish peoples over 50 years ago. It was already right there in the hearts of the elders who steadied me during the all-night wakes, who sat me beside them in the longhouses, or allowed me to speak in their churches. They were the ones who welcomed me with their kind eyes and hearts whenever we shared cups of tea in very humble homes.
These respected elders knew how to welcome and receive all that was truly good in a spiritual way. Anything that lifted minds to the most holy, anything that cemented human hearts together, anything that fed the people with knowledge that would sustain them, anything sent from their beloved and the Most High to help the world of living ones, anything that was generous and honest. They cherished anything that brightened the eyes of the young or filled homes with laughter, holding as holy anything that generated breath, songs, and good words. They acknowledged all that revealed the sacred road of light meant for all to seek
They
and follow.
acknowledged all that revealed the sacred road of light.
There was room for everyone in the cedar smokehouses and churches.
There was room for everyone in the high mountains and on the valley floors, where rivers muscled their way to the sea. There was room for everyone at the endless table prepared for all living ones, where everyone was equal in seeing, hearing, singing, speaking. And everyone was equal in forgiving and being forgiven.
This table was dreamt,
built and sustained by love. This table had no fixed edges.
It just kept growing
and
expanding.
expanding.
So great
the
love
love
that sang it into being.
The elders knew that love creates love and that hate nourishes hate. They taught that generosity seeds generosity and that greed seeds ruin. There was no room in their hearts for doubt in the power of the Most Holy to take care of their people.
A sacred manner of living. We are there for everyone. When we gather to support a family, it is because of our respect for them and the good that they have accomplished in life.
Tichuk, Tulaluk.
We feel compassion for one another because we are aware of all the generations of suffering that so many families have endured. Those who have the eyes to see us realize that this compassion is the light, the wonder that our peoples carry within them.
Barbara James, Tala, Swinomish.
The reality, the wondrous presence that we experience as limitless kindness, understanding, compassion, forgiveness, mercy, and generosity is a powerful river that carries us toward an ocean of love beyond our comprehension. This reality, His holy presence, when embodied in us, becomes a sacred manner of living. It is in the solidarity we feel with all those who suffer around us that the sacred lifeway is born and nurtured within us. We have many honorable words for the work of the Spirit, the risen Jesus, and our elders and ancestors in this world. But the one word that calls to us all is compassion. We are meant to participate fully in the compassion that generates and holds the entire universe. The one great work of all our lives is to be kind and loving to one another. This is the goal and summation of our lives on this earth. There is nothing more important. Knowing often gives way to not knowing. The surest path to the heart of the Most Holy is the path of compassion. The surest path to a wise and loving heart is merciful, loving compassion. Our reverence for the life ways of our ancestors and the life way of Jesus helps to keep the earth alive through our respect and gratitude for all living ones. In our prayers, songs, and sacred gatherings, we embody the hopes of our ancestors. We participate in the sacred work that our elders simply called taking care of things. To live in a nonviolent manner, to be willing to die for one another, fills this world and the whole universe with the presence and power of the Most Holy. When we live in this way, we become one with our ancestors, the risen Jesus and the Spirit, in bringing life and beauty to all living ones. There is no other way of life more noble than this. If there are no more streams where salmon can spawn, if there are no meadows and forests where deer and elk can raise their young, if bees cannot pollinate flower blossoms, if cedar seedlings cannot gain hold in the moist earth, and if our air is poisoned by noxious gases, all life will disappear. If we continue to hate, exploit, and make war on one another, our earth will drown under the weight of our anguish and tears. We must step up to our place of honor and dignity in all of this confusion and wonder. This is what our ancestors pray and wait for us to do. This is our only hope.
Yo
When European missionaries came among the Coast Salish peoples in the mid-1800s, they were welcomed by the revered elders who saw in the story of Jesus and his ancestors their own story of valiant struggle against adversity and their endless trust in the wisdom and caring kindness of the Most Holy. Some began to understand the Most Holy as Father, Son, and Spirit. Those who took the teachings of Jesus into the richness of their hearts found his presence and power to be part of their spiritual strength and a part of their own profound understanding of the way of all living ones. Robert Joe Walton of the Swinomish people expressed his understanding of these first encounters in this manner. When our great-grandparents first listened to the priests in their black robes, they said to one another, "These teachings are like our own teachings." Yet most of the missionaries and some government officials thought that they were bringing an entirely new understanding of the Most Holy to Salish peoples that would totally replace these peoples' ancient understanding of their sacred place and purpose in the ongoing work of the universe. This way of thinking and teaching did violence to the people's self-understanding. It robbed them of their unique relationship with the Most Holy, their beloved ones who had gone before them, and with all living ones. It created an unfamiliar and awkward feeling inside of the people's hearts. They felt that they were being told to doubt and abandon all of the wisdom of their grandparents, which was horrible and unthinkable, and placed a war inside their minds. If their sacred lifeway was of no value, then they as human beings had no value. If their lifeway was not sent to them from the Most Holy, then their way of being on the earth was no longer necessary. Their unique way of understanding kindness and generosity was no longer wanted on their own ancestral lands and waters. Everything was changing. Everything had to be changed. There was no place left for them as the immigrants flooded onto their lands. These immigrants thought that native peoples were not as fully human as they were, and many were anxious to totally disappear them. They considered these peoples not as living peoples, but as a curiosity, a distant memory, an ornament on the edge of their burgeoning civilization that could be easily dismissed and forgotten. But Coast Salish peoples refused to give up their own sense of identity, their own way of being on the earth, their own songs, teachings, and ceremonies, no matter how severe the ridicule, the discrimination, and the persecution. What had to go into hiding for over 100 years reemerged in the 1960s and 1970s with a new fervor and commitment. In a new political and economic climate, younger generations, driven by the fear of losing everything that told them who they were, sought out the most respected elders who had kept the songs, teachings, and ceremonies alive in their hearts. It is only because of the heroic efforts of so many that the Coast Salish lifeway is vibrantly alive today. It is the one living thread that ties these many peoples together. Almost every year, hundreds of cedar traveling canoes brave the waters of the Pacific Ocean and the Coast Salish Sea, spending weeks to reach the warm beaches of the host tribe whose elders lift their hands in welcome to the tired and hungry travelers. And then begins a week of feasting, dancing, singing, and many wise, encouraging words for the young to carry within them back to their own lands and waters. The Coast Salish Lifeway is now finding its way forward into a complex and globally united world that is formed by many colliding and merging cultures. Salish peoples, because of their tireless resistance to forces that would rob them of their self-understanding and place in this world, are part of a new way of being on the earth that is nourished, not by narcissistic materialism, but by a sincere opening of hearts and minds to all peoples and a deep sensitivity to the wounds that human beings have inflicted on themselves and on the earth. The Coast Salish have a unique voice among all of the many voices that rise from this good earth. It is most important that their voice be heard because it rises from the cry of all living ones for respect and honor.
the syəyaʔyaʔ. It is important that the syəyaʔyaʔ who follow the way of Jesus learn to integrate this experience into their own sacred lifeway, as generations of their elders had done before them. They must learn that the two lifeways are not opposed, but are meant to illuminate and give life to one another. They will come to learn that all the songs, teachings, and ceremonies that their grandparents carried in their hearts were understood as coming from one holy mystery, a light, a wisdom, a kindness beyond human understanding. They will learn that they are joining together on a common journey that reaches beyond smokehouse and church, towards a presence, a mystery, a courageous kindness that gathers the hearts of all living ones into a lasting sacred home for all. Only then will the syəyaʔyaʔ find peace in their inmost being. Some of their relatives and some university professors say that they must choose to follow smokehouse or church teachings. They cannot follow both if they choose to do so. This isn't the teaching that I received from the most revered Salish elders, teachers, and spiritual healers, Darrell. Some members of Christian churches tell the young that they can only follow the Christian way, that they no longer need the guidance and strength of their own life way. This is a false teaching and ultimately destructive to the syəyaʔyaʔ in their quest to fully belong to their peoples. This sets up a war inside their minds and hearts that devours their serenity, clarity, and hope. It deprives them of the hard-won joy of feeling the strength of all the circles of their identity, the combined power of all the help, coming to them from the Most Holy, and all the beloved who've gone ahead into the next world. At this time, the hard work of the young searching for an authentic identity is crucial for Coast Salish peoples to flourish in a world filled with many voices, some life-giving and honest, some destructive and pernicious. The willingness of revered elders to feed their young with the profound teachings handed down to them by their ancestors is absolutely necessary for the voice of the Coast Salish peoples to remain in the world. As Laura Wilbur of Swinomish used to say, a child without good advice is a poor child. A child surrounded by good advice is a rich child. With all of this in mind, we all work together for an earth where all living ones and the wisdom, songs, and teachings they embody are respected and cherished. We envision and build an earth where all voices are heard. This has been the hope and practice of the Coast Salish elders for millennia, a manner of being in the world for which they gave their lives. This is also the hope and practice of Jesus of Nazareth, whose respect and caring love went far beyond any forms of racism, bigotry, or hypocritical religiosity. He lived his life humbly, simply. He died between two thieves on a cross to proclaim and protect the nobility and freedom of all persons, peoples, and all living ones. It is our hope that we can also give our lives for the truth of all the sacred teachings entrusted to us. One day I looked out of my kitchen window and I saw a friend I knew who had experienced a very tough time in Catholic boarding school. He was walking with the wide stance of a fisherman, getting over his sea legs. He carried a brown paper sack. I invited him in and we sat down for coffee at the kitchen table. "I've got something for you," he said. and pulled out a picture of Jesus in a broken frame. The picture had been torn in two and was now pasted together. He then told me, my doctor told me that I now only have 2 days to live. I want you to have this picture.
What we carry inside of us and what has carried us for countless years has brought us along to this day. We have squeezed through the eye of the storm. We are meant to be here, and we are emerging. Darrell, Hillaire, syəyaʔyaʔ, Lummi. Waking up the spirit, let it move within you as you sing your song. I know who I am when I sing my song. Danita, Washington, syəyaʔyaʔ, Lummi. We are thriving, not just surviving. We want people to know who we are. Mitchell Hernandez, Tulalip. On the smokehouse floors, on the powwow grounds, at funeral gatherings, and wherever our families gather, we are experiencing a much wider vision, a much deeper affirmation of the Spirit alive in the world. We are experiencing what Jesus saw and understood when he walked on this earth. Jesus saw the Spirit alive in all who were open to the Spirit. He saw the gift of the Spirit everywhere. He felt the joy of union with the Spirit as he carried out his spiritual work on behalf of all who came to him. This is what we are experiencing now with the joy of Jesus and the Spirit inside of us. We see the world exploding with spiritual energy, the Spirit alive and active in all living ones. We see the coming together of many native nations with their songs, prayers, teachings, and gestures of kindness, all equally welcomed and respected. The Spirit is giving us ourselves in the full. We are not giving in to bickering, fighting, resenting, hating, drawing lines, and building walls of misunderstanding between us. Lies, ignorance, and bitterness are simply the opposite of what the Spirit wants to manifest and accomplish in all of us, gathered as one magnificent family in discerning love, respect, and limitless generosity. The ancient teachings and the teachings of Jesus are one in spirit and truth. Their expressions are multiple, many languages, many teachings, many songs and prayers, but all experiencing and expressing the same wondrous reality that we are all one family, one living circle, with welcome and respect for all. This universe that we share with all living ones is charged with the energy and movement of love, the Spirit. The light of the Spirit is within all living ones, a great light shining for all to see, whose vision is not dimmed by ignorance and greed. As the elders have taught us, we are meant to welcome the light at dawn and walk in the light always. Ebash alti lachshad. We know that we are doing this when we truly love and care for one another. We find one another stumbling and falling along the road. We pick one another up and encourage one another in our suffering and losses. There can be no limit to our attentiveness and care for one another. When we are walking in this manner, the Spirit is with us in the full. We are walking the road of our ancestors. We are walking the road of Jesus and all who seek and follow him. Only when our hearts are freed from bitterness, jealousy, and resentment can we see that all is filled with the light of the Spirit. It is then that our spirits cry out with joy and sing, because we know that even in their suffering and dying, all living ones are being born anew by the Spirit. This Spirit will one day lift them into the full embrace of the Most Holy and the arms of all the generations of beloved who have gone before them. When we come together at gatherings, our laughter, our songs, prayers, and sacred meals that we share are an image, a foretaste of what awaits us, the fullness of union with one another that our hearts have sought since we were born.
Something is rising these days among Native peoples. Something is moving, appearing, and growing stronger. One evening at a gathering at Yale University, I was depressed and withdrawn after several Native speakers revisited the terrible wrongs that had been done by the Catholic Church to indigenous peoples. My friend and brother, Ray Williams, syəyaʔyaʔ, Swinomish, was sitting next to me. Ray's a visionary and a healer of hearts. He builds bridges, not walls, between peoples. When he saw me slump in my seat, he put his head next to mine. He smiled, whispered to me, "Don't worry about all of this anymore. Look to the good work ahead of us, the wonder of what is now being shown to us." I was overwhelmed by the joy and freedom Ray was offering to me.
It is true, Native peoples are emerging, being born, recreated into something new. This is the work of the Spirit of their ancestors among them. They have a clear vision of a good road ahead for their children and grandchildren. It is a road filled with healing and light. It is a road wide enough for everyone, all living ones, to walk together. It is a pathway held and nourished by countless generations of our ancestors. It is a pathway straight into the heart of our Creator and the arms of their beloved. It is time for all to rejoice and be glad in what is being shared with indigenous peoples, the very life of the Spirit. It is time for all to stand up and to lift up arms and hands in thanks to all of the beloved and ancestors for all that they have held and carried for the strength and joy of all peoples and all living ones. It is time for all to share with one another signs of our solidarity, strength, and joy. It is time for us to live in harmony and peace.
Part 3.
Part 3. The Way of Healing.
The healing ways of the universe.
My doctor told me that I wouldn't be able to walk anymore. I told him that I will walk. He asked me, "How will you do this?" I said to him that I have a friend who will help me. He created me and he cares for me. We have to have strong faith.
Susie, Caillou, Billy, Swinomish.
We are meant to pray all the time for everybody. I go to my altar and pray every morning and evening for all the people.
Don Hatch, Sr., Spotubkud, Tulalip.
The primary expression of the holy is the living universe itself, in which we humans and all living ones are connected in a manner that transcends all normal measurements of space and time. In its origin and center, all existence is non-temporal and in some manner eternal. As we move into this universe, we experience limitless expressions of beauty and power. This breaks our hearts and minds open to receive all that the universe wishes to reveal to us. The whole universe is totally alive, an expression of splendor and mystery in which we find our value and meaning, our profound desire to know and be known, to love and be loved. We move and learn in this universe through our powers to see, hear, touch, smell, taste, and our abilities to figure things out, to know, to measure, to express, and to love. Concomitantly with all these gifts and the wonder that they induce, there are also gifts of spiritual seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, knowing, and loving. These gifts are sent and given to some from the unseen part of the universe by the Most Holy. We can be given spiritual eyes that see in visions with a sharpened awareness the reality of presences and powers in the spiritual world. The elders call this seeing a seeing with the heart, or utmost compassion. This kind of spiritual seeing opens up within our awareness new horizons of meaning and value. We also can hear words and songs sent to us from the unseen. We can experience our hands as channels of healing energy. We can smell a sweetness or lack of sweetness that attracts or repels us when we are among certain people and in diverse environments. We can taste love when we receive food prepared for us in a loving manner.
Among the Salish indigenous peoples I've lived with for 50 years, men and women especially gifted with spiritual gifts of power are called Dukdab. Commonly they are called Indian doctors, medicine men and women, or spiritual healers. These men and women can give themselves to the world of healing powers totally when it comes to them, or they can refuse to accept it because of their sense of unworthiness. But if they do accept what is sent to them, their lives are radically given over to the endless work of helping all who call for them. Once this sacred work is accepted, there is no turning back from it until they have given back all that was shared with them. Finally, emptied and exhausted, they are taken into the arms of their ancestors, the beloved, in the loving heart of their Creator.
Coast Salish healing ways. Our healers are focused not so much on our minds. They are concerned about the condition of our souls, our spirits.
Stephen Point, Stalo Nation.
When we meet an animal and we sing for it, we receive a gift, something that will touch our eyes and hands so that we can help others.
Richard Solomon, Lummi. When I moved to the northwest coast of Washington State in 1985, I carried the words of Marguerite Ensminger with me. Marguerite was a respected elder in Enchilium, where I lived for 11 years on the Colville Reservation in eastern Washington. She told me, "I know your heart is broken now in leaving us, but I also know that you have much more to learn than what we have taught you. So, go forward. A whole new world of knowledge awaits you." I have found and still find Marguerite's words of advice to me absolutely true. When I began to live at Swinomish among the Coast Salish peoples, I knew that I was beginning again. Swinomish and all Coast Salish peoples are animated by a vast cultural revival. Since the late 1960s, the central focus of the Coast Salish was rediscovering, reaffirming, and reliving of their sacred lifeways. The revival was central to their self-understanding as Salish peoples living on the edges of the Salish Sea. When I first began to attend ceremonies and family smokehouses found throughout the many neighboring reservations, I began to notice and enjoy an entirely new expression of respect for the Most Holy and of all the powers and presences in the unseen world. I became much more aware of the presence of the ancestors and the beloved, and those who have died, but who are still very much alive and present with us in a spiritual manner. When the Swinomish finished their main cedar longhouse in 1991, I sat with them at the gathering, witnessing 2 large fires fed by 6-foot logs shooting sparks and smoke towards the ceiling 80 feet above us. Being among 900 dancers from Swinomish and neighboring tribes, and hearing 100 drums carrying the songs for each of the dancers, I felt that I was straddling the seen and the unseen world in a seamless manner. The friendships renewed with all living ones and with one another, and all the presences and powers in the unseen, the food prepared with love and shared with all, and the vast energy of the songs lifted us all up and carried us for months afterward. Kenny Moses, Sr.
Kenny Moses, Sr.
At one of the gatherings during the long winter, I'd been with the people since evening and was going to drift outside and head for my house and warm bed. Suddenly a song of immense beauty began in the center of the gathering. I stopped and turned to see the singer. A tall, handsome man with a red bandana and girded with a red sash began his spiritual work for the whole gathering. His songs were quickly picked up by all the singers. As I watched him, I saw light all over him and was immediately filled with joy. One of my friends standing next to me became aware of my amazement and whispered to me, "That is Kenny Moses." Over many years, Kenny Moses Sr. became a very close friend, teacher, and guide for me, moving into spiritual worlds that I was unfamiliar with. He was humble, practical, radically honest. There was never any pretense or self-seeking about him. When he was asked to do spiritual work at gatherings, he would do the work and then magically disappear. Kenny worked as a logger during the day, and almost every night he would travel with his sons and daughters to help out all who called out for him. Elders told me that Kenny had been recognized and destined to be a spiritual healer from the time he was young. He was carefully taught during those years when he began to receive his guiding visions. He was strong in body and mind his whole life. He never drank alcohol or smoked. As with all native spiritual healers, Kenny never needed to be told what was troubling those who came to him for help. When he was singing, his spiritual helpers would show him visions or tell him the nature of the person's needs. And then working with his hands or with cedar, he would cleanse their body and mind of burdens and restore their spirit to them. Oftentimes, after the work, he would tell the families about the visions he had received. He didn't try to explain the visions, he just told them what he saw. They would take the visions home with them, ponder their meaning. Once when I asked Kenny to bless our spiritual center that we had built on the back of the old church at Swinomish, he gave us 3 visions to ponder. After months, I felt I understood 2 of the visions, and to this day, I'm still pondering the 3rd vision. I know it will come to me. Sometimes at gatherings, Kenny would look at me and ask me to do a prayer before his work began. I knew it was out of his kindness to me. He wanted me to feel that I was also helping the people. One night after working for 3 hours at a large gathering in his home, he turned to me and asked me to pray for his wife, who was very ill at the time. He said to me, "My wife is Catholic, and she will appreciate your prayers." I felt so small, but I anointed her with the healing oil and prayed for her. Kenny was very happy with my work. After many years, Kenny's heart gave out. I was at a gathering at Swinomish when the news came. I began to sob and ran outside. 2 grandmothers caught up with me, let me cry it out. I thought we would have Kenny with us for much longer. The family asked me to help with Kenny's funeral. I was so happy to be able to do this last work for him. After the funeral, when we carried his body out of the building, 2 eagles were waiting for us perched high above us on each side of the entrance. These eagles accompanied us all the way to the gravesite and then flew upward and out of sight. This lightened up all of our hearts greatly. Kenny Moses Jr.
Kenny Moses Jr.
Years later, one of Kenny's sons, Kenny Jr., began to receive and accept the songs coming to him from the unseen world. I was with him when other spiritual helpers were helping him work out his songs. His songs were unique and so true and beautiful, like his father's songs. Kenny Jr. was pure of heart, without ego, completely generous like his father. He was shy by nature, and his heart and spirit were open to everyone. One day he asked me if he could be baptized in the Catholic way in the honor of his mother. So we began to share worlds together, easily and seamlessly. We deeply respected each other's spiritual gifts. Kenny Jr. was similar to his father in his spiritual work for the people, and at the same time his work was unique to him. He saw visions clearly like his dad. He could see spiritually what was going on with a person's spirit. He also extended his utmost love and respect to everybody in the seen and unseen world. His heart held us all when, like his father, his own heart wore out. We felt shattered and alone. Isidore Tom Sr.
Isidore Tom Sr.
Another spiritual healer who had enormous impact on my life was Isidore Tom Sr., T. Patius, who lived at Lummi. I first saw him on the smokehouse floor at a large gathering of dancers and their families. He was helped from his seat at the edge of the circle by family members. They steadied him as he went to the center of the floor to begin his songs. His songs were beautifully pure and soothing. All the singers joined in when he began his healing work for the whole assembly. The light shining off his gray hair and around his body was the same remarkable light that I had seen before on Kenny Moses Sr. I stood in awe as he sent his spiritual power out to help the people. Isidore Tom became my teacher and father to me. I gradually was honored to become part of his large family. At times he let me sit close beside him so I could see close at hand the nature of his spiritual work. He restored the spirits of men and women back to them, and when they came to him lost, confused, and depressed. Before Isidore went to the next world, he entrusted a healing song to his family to be shared with all the people. This song is sung at many gatherings. It's always a source of comfort and joy. He also loved bone games, slahal, at summer gatherings, and the family has kept the gambling songs alive as well. They are vibrant and joyous. When Isidore T. Patius passed away, the family asked Bob Joe and myself to help with the funeral. I felt so honored and grateful to participate in this work for him and the family. Isidore Tom Jr.
Isidore Tom Jr.
After Isidore Tom Sr. passed away, Isidore Tom Jr., or Dobie, as we called him, began to carry on the healing work of his family. He had his own songs and manner of doing the healing work that was asked of him. He worked on people in both urban and reservation settings. Whether he's working on one person or a family or a whole circle of people, once his songs began, he could see everyone present in a spiritual manner. If anyone was despairing or physically ill, he would find them, encourage them, and often begin the hard work of restoring their spirit to them. I was often astounded at what Isidore could see and restore. We became close friends. He took me under his wing, his loving care. At times he would call me to join him in some spiritual work. We enjoyed a lot when we were together. Sometimes he would ask me to pray, and sometimes he would ask me to bless the gathering with cedar. When I'd finished, he'd begin his songs. He also looked out for me. Sometimes he'd call me and ask how I was feeling. I'd say, I'm all right. I'd say, I'm going to do the sentence again. Okay. He also looked out for me. Sometimes he would call me, ask me how I was feeling. I would say, I was all right. Then he would say, well, he had a dream about me that I was struggling. And I would admit that I wasn't doing so well. We would then get together and he would sing for me, sometimes with his grandson helping. He would lift the burdens of sorrow off my chest and restore my spirit to me. He also would tell me what he saw in visions when he was singing. I recognized the visions as true for me. I gradually came to know that Isidore Jr. had a failing heart. The doctors couldn't help him. He told me one day that he knew he was going to die soon, but he said, I want to be going to answer a call from someone who is hurting when I die. 2 weeks later, his daughter Nancy received a call in the morning from her father to come and help a family. She talked to him and he immediately prepared to leave with her. When he headed for the front door, he suddenly dropped to the floor and died. He had fulfilled his own vision of his dying. Nancy asked us to help with his funeral. I wanted to do this with all my heart. During the funeral, I was holding together pretty well, but at the end of the funeral, when people were passing by viewing his body, I went over to comfort some of the men who were weeping. When we embraced, we all wept for a long time. We grieved the loss of our common friend and our loss of someone to look out for us in a spiritual way. Chester Caillou, Jr.
Chester Caillou, Jr.
Then, after what seemed like far too long a time, something marvelous happened. One of my dearest friends, Chester Caillou, Jr., Pia Huxton, came into the life of a healer. I learned from Polly, his wife, that his encounter with the beloved and the powers in the unseen world had been so intense that it almost killed him. As he lay struggling in his bed for 4 days, Polly kept all the people away from him, especially those who wanted to take him to the hospital. She knew that what was being given to him was altogether good. Chester, overwhelmed by the beauty and power of this gift, finally accepted all that was sent to him. He was keenly aware both of his unworthiness and the weighty responsibility of the new calling. When I went to see him the night he was going to bring out his spiritual work on the smokehouse floor, he was kept separate and alone by his family. When I came to the front door of the house, one of his nephews was standing there guarding the entrance. He asked Chester if I could come in. Chester called for me. He was sitting alone in the living room of his house praying. When I came in, he stood and we embraced and we wept for a long time. We both realized the enormity of what he was accepting. That night, Chester's work was beautiful and powerful. His song carried him around the longhouse spires as he looked out for all who needed any help. And when he came to me, his power touched my chest and my heart. I wept. I suddenly realized that all deep healing power comes through the heart of the healer. Chester's surrender to the Holy Ones was so tender and so complete that what came forth for him, to me and everyone present in the smokehouse, could only be named holy, sacred, syəyaʔyaʔ. It was an encounter, an exchange of love, which we could totally love and respect. Chester died suddenly in June of 2022. His work had worn him out. His death left a great emptiness in my heart. It left a great emptiness in everyone's heart. We gathered in the Swinney smokehouse that he had helped to build. Over 1,000 friends came to join in the spiritual work in his honor. I cried for several days, missing his love, his kindness, his humor. We were brothers. I have come to believe that the work of spiritual healers and all true spiritual healing is at its depth the fullness of love, understanding, caring, forgiving, compassionate, generous love. Those distracted by the striking forms in which the healing work is undertaken may fail to see or understand that the magic of healing is the magic of limitless, selfless love. The men and women who accept the spiritual work given from the unseen world no longer have a life of their own. Every day and night, they answer the calls coming to them from the lonely and confused, and all of those in great danger of losing the power of the Spirit alive with them. Being a spiritual healer is truly a sacred way of life, and there's no end to it. It spans the seen and the unseen world. It is majestic and totally humble. It is both hidden and totally alive in the world. Its origin and sustaining power is the heart of the Most Holy, the Creator, syəyaʔyaʔ. It is a truly noble way, passed down through countless generations of Salish healers. This way has been alive since the birth of the universe. There's no greater way of life, no greater love that human beings and all living ones could aspire to follow.
The way of friendship.
The way of friendship.
Part 4, The Way of Friendship. No pressure to convert. What is most important?
When you are given an Indian name, you are meant to respect that name and to live in a manner that honors the one who carried that name before you.
Kenny Moses Sr., Quaquachup, Snoqualmie.
For the sake of all our Indian people, young and old, we must promote, preserve, and protect our culture and traditions.
Maxine Williams, Sinsonkomo, Swinomish.
You work hard for that goal of keeping fishermen on the water. It is my life work for our people and for their children's children.
Lorraine Loomis, Swinomish.
It is very important for us to allow ourselves to rest in the arms of the Most Holy, in the arms of Jesus, the Father, the Spirit, and in the arms of our beloved ones. It is only when we are in that home, in that dwelling, that we can find our strength to reach out to all in the world who ask for our attention and respect. It is only when we are in that home, in that dwelling, that we can find our strength to reach out to all in the world who ask for our attention and respect. If we do not do this in good order, our strength will dry up and our work will become fruitless. It is important for us to know the power of our name, the power of who we are when the Most Holy and the Beloved call to us, desiring to comfort us and protect us from destroying ourselves and wounding the lives of others. There is nothing more important than this, nothing as lasting as this profound friendship with what is most deep in all things. This is a life of all, the joy of all, and the hope of all. There is no other way to be truly alive in the world and for the good of the world to be alive in us. If we do live in this sacred manner, we will find the joy that our most honored and revered elders and teachers embodied. We will become one with them in their endless hope and courage. There is no other path so fulfilling, so generous in the goodness it offers to all around us. There is no other path to true life in the Spirit. No splendor can match this splendor that we carry within us. If we live in this manner, our hearts become one with the wondrous presence that is the heart of the universe, holding and fashioning an endless work greater than anything
that we could think of or imagine, the birth of all into light itself, and a bond of love that is limitless, including everyone. The universe itself is a living body filled with wisdom, love, and spirit. This wisdom, love, and spirit was made fully manifest in Jesus when he walked this earth, listening, learning, teaching, healing, loving, and forgiving. This wisdom, love, and spirit manifests itself in us when we strive to follow the sacred road entrusted to us by Jesus, the Spirit, and the countless generations of our ancestors. Jesus and the Spirit walk with us in all of our searching and finding because they are fully alive in the world. They will never abandon us because we are drawn and guided to be one heart and mind with them.
We do not walk or work alone. We do not rest or dream alone. We are meant to do everything together in a relationship of respect and love. Our many paths are really one sacred journey, the sacred journey that all living ones make together. We all come from the same mystery of kindness. We are all born to live, to suffer, to die, and then be drawn back into the kindness that sustained us all along our many roads. We all have the same sacred dignity on this journey we share. Everyone is equally important, equally necessary, and equally wonderful. The variety of our individual paths point to the unique work of the Spirit within each living person in multiple environments and encounters, too numerous to mention. But it is the same Spirit who enlightens all, comforts all, strengthens all, and encourages all. It is the same Spirit that has been teaching all living ones from beyond any notion of time and space. It is the same Spirit available to all, everywhere, all of the time. It is the same Spirit that holds all, guides all, and works in all. What we equally share is one Spirit, and in this oneness we find a fountain of joy and energy that is wondrous and fruitful beyond our imagining. We all share in one table, one sacred journey, one sacred home, and one great circle of friendship. Ray Paul, an elder from the Swinomish tribe, used to raise his arms in an ecstatic manner at all of our gatherings and shout, "I rejoice in this great circle of friendship." Ray was physically blind, but what he saw and knew spiritually was accurate and absolutely true. When he lifted up his arms, he embraced the entire seen and unseen universe. May we all live in this manner.
Father Pat. Haishka Father